Good evening and thanks for joining us from Washington, D.C. The election is over, but the world is still waiting to find out who will be the next president of the United States. Joe Biden is calling for all the votes to be counted, and Donald Trump is threatening lawsuits and trying to stop the counting. It is Biden who is edging closer to victory. Michigan and Wisconsin have now both flipped to the Democrats. This is what Biden said this afternoon.
I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
Here's why he's sounding so confident. After picking up Michigan, Biden is now 6 electoral college votes away from the 270 needed to get to the White House. Those are the AP numbers we use. And a win in Nevada would get him there. There are now just 5 states where the results aren't clear yet. They are the ones in gray on this map. Alaska will more than likely go Republican. The others, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada, could go either way. Donald Trump has not spoken to the media today. His team, though, has been busy filing lawsuits and, again, without any evidence, accusing the Democrats of stealing the election. His lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, made allegations today of widespread voter fraud. He claimed Trump has won the election and said it's just a matter of counting the votes fairly. Joe Biden does have more paths to victory than Donald Trump. Our Eric Sorensen is on top of all the maps and the math. Eric, where do the numbers stand and where are they likely to go?
Donna, if you were looking at this map a little after midnight, it did not look promising for Joe Biden. He needed to win multiple states that Donald Trump had won in 2016 and had only one to show for it, Arizona. But then the votes kept coming in. He started to get a little closer in several states. And by this afternoon, Wisconsin had flipped to Democratic blue. And suddenly, Biden has the wind at his back.
It was a long night in Milwaukee as thousands of ballots were counted and later, with police escort, dropped off by the elections commissioner at the courthouse. A race so close it could not be called until virtually all of the votes had been counted. The final Wisconsin tally, about a 20,000 vote win for Joe Biden, less than a percentage point ahead of President Trump. Close, unofficially complete, and above board.
Every piece of data is publicly available. And so there's no opportunity to add additional votes to the tally, right? We have no reason to believe that there are any other ballots that have not yet been counted and included as part of those unofficial totals.
By late afternoon, Michigan was also put into the Biden column. They're still counting in Nevada and several more states, a long process for election workers and an agonizing waiting game for Americans. Other key races too close to call? In Nevada, Biden leads by about a point with a lot of votes still to count. Trump has narrow leads in Georgia and in North Carolina. In Pennsylvania, his lead has been trimmed to a few points, with hundreds of thousands of early votes still to be counted, mostly cast by Democrats. So, Wisconsin and Michigan have pushed Biden to a clear lead of 264 electoral votes, Trump at 214, as declared by Associated Press. The states left have 60 electoral votes. Trump has a lead in Alaska that would add to his total. Analysts think North Carolina could go to Trump, and for the moment he leads in Georgia. Biden, though, is closer to the finish line, and he leads in Nevada. If he wins Nevada and holds the rest through any recounts, Biden would be at 270, the number to win the presidency. Pennsylvania would give him an even bigger lead. But if instead it went over to Trump, it would be a very, very close finish. There are other combinations, but Biden appears to have more agonizingly close paths to 270. As the votes get counted, state officials bristle at any suggestion of dishonesty.
Give the public servants the opportunity to do their job. And what I will tell you is that here in Pennsylvania, we're going to follow the law.
President Trump wants to challenge the process, but he's challenging a fundamental precept of any election. You vote, then you count the ballots. All of them. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Our Washington Bureau Chief Jackson Proskow is with me. Jackson, still millions of votes to be counted. We have to make that point, but it looks like the momentum is on Joe Biden's side now. What are the options for Donald Trump?
They're few and far between, and they seem to be a path through the courts at this point, which is why you saw the president's children and Rudy Giuliani out there launching this one court challenge in Pennsylvania to try and stop the count there. They're doing something similar in Michigan as well. But I have to tell you, they don't have a great track record with these court challenges, even in front of Trump-appointed Republican judges. And the reason for that is they're making these allegations of voter fraud or insufficient time to scrutinize the ballots. They haven't actually offered up any proof in any of these cases. So, Donna, that remains a real roadblock for trying to move these forward for the Trump campaign.
And Jackson, the counting is going on. Is there a timeline on when we might get some clarity on these numbers?
It's a slow process. Officials in Nevada told us that they might not release any new results until tomorrow. Now it seems like some might trickle out tonight. Georgia still has a lot of counting to go, almost 200,000 ballots. This is slow. Arizona's working on 600,000 ballots. So we may get some more clarity tonight, Donna. We may have to wait until tomorrow, but I can tell you President Trump has called what is known as a lid at the White House, which means he's not expected to make any public appearance through the rest of the evening.
All right, Jackson, thanks so much. Well, as we said, votes are still being counted in some key states. And now there's news the U.S. Postal Service lost track of roughly 300,000 ballots. They entered the postal system, apparently, but there's no confirmation they were delivered to election authorities. U.S. Postal Service officials were called before a federal judge today for failing to comply with a court-ordered sweep of their facilities to try to find those missing ballots. Concerns were raised about the Postal Service's ability to handle the unprecedented number of ballots after the new Postmaster General, a donor to Trump's campaign, made changes that slowed mail delivery in the lead-up to the election. Critics say the intention was to suppress votes, particularly in swing states.